All right. So a couple weeks ago, the UFC kicked off their 2021 calendar year. Historic fight card, the first MMA event ever to air on ABC Network, a network with such a tremendous history in the combat sports world. It had been over 2 decades since a fight was aired on ABC. It was a boxing match. Jose Luis Castillo defeated Stevie Johnson. I remember watching that fight. It was like this huge upset. But over 20 years later, the first main event on ABC for the UFC was in the featherweight division. Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. Very important fight, 145 pounds. Max Holloway got the win. He looked incredible, but Calvin Kattar in defeat showed tremendous grit, heart, and to quote the great Mick Foley, testicular fortitude, and he might just be the toughest man on earth. But that fight and how it ultimately played out over 25 minutes brought up a lot of questions, a lot of debate, and in some cases, some finger pointing. So I'm happy to welcome back the head coach for Calvin Kattar, Tyson Chartier. Tyson, thank you for doing this, man. I know there's probably a million other things you'd rather be doing on this freezing cold day, but I appreciate it very much.
No, thanks for having me on. It was, it's cool to see ABC getting some fights back, and it was a lot more eyes on this fight than past fights. It had a different energy to it. People from my past that, not necessarily UFC fans or fight fans that were watching, people messaging me like, oh, my mom watched you on TV, stuff like that. So you can definitely tell it had a different buzz to it, like a big pay-per-view feel. So, it's unfortunate how the fight went, and that's the sport. You got to go with the highs and try to absorb the lows. And at the end of the day, we have that Patriot mindset. It's always like on to the next one, learn what we can from the last one and then move on to the next one and try to make sure it doesn't happen again.
More importantly than anything else we're about to discuss, I know some reports came out after the fight that Calvin suffered a broken nose, needed like 8 staples in his head to close a cut. 13 or so days later, as we're talking right now, how is Calvin feeling?
I had to keep Calvin from working out. He's pretty normal. His family's, his mom and his brother-in-law are in town for the week. So he's been doing a lot of family time. Every day it's me, just, hey, relax, because he, the day after the fight, he was riding an exercise bike and, asking if he could go for a jog. And, we're like, no, you got to rest a little bit. And, it's just, he's antsy. He's itching to get back to work, but obviously we're going to be prudent. We're going to, I'm leaning on the PI and their staff a lot to try to make sure that we're just erring on the side of caution with, recovering from a big fight like that. And, Calvin hasn't had a break since really he came into the UFC. Before that Ricardo Lamas fight, he had a little bit of a break after the Fish Gold where we were working out a new contract. And since then it was like Lamas, the beat, and then right from the beat fight into, camp for Stevens for 18 weeks. And then right from there was a quick turnaround against Ige. And then right from there, we thought we were going to fight Zabit again. So we were in camp, and then we were being told we'll probably fight Max. So this is the first time that he's really been told to like, hey, stop, rest, and, just fully recover. So I think this will be a good time for him to just, totally rest his hands, let his nose heal and, just rest his head and get back to it, at the end of the year. And, that's going to be easier said than done. Calvin's always a guy that he wants to work, he wants to be in the gym every day. And if he's not, he's getting anxious. And, so it'll just be, us listening to the PI, leveraging their resources and figuring out the safest way to come back and on what timeline. So it sounds like already that I'm taking more of a conservative timeline than maybe they're suggesting. They're like, oh, wait to do this until this. I'm like, well, we're not doing that anytime close to that timeline. We're going to wait longer. So they're happy with that, that we're not trying to push him back in. And I think all things considered, he's doing, for how it looked on TV and how, a lot of people were concerned after is, he's doing well, all things considered. Easy for me to say is the guy that's not, the one that got hurt, but he's in good spirits. I can say that, he's in good spirits. We're trying to, reel him back from, not jumping back into the gym too quick or anything like that. So, we're all being safe on our end.
You had mentioned that because the last time Calvin had fought, also in Abu Dhabi in July when he fought and beat Dan Ige, and the way that Fight Island in the quote unquote bubble was handled back then seemed far different than it was this time around. Like Dustin Poirier talked about it after he beat Conor McGregor. He said it wasn't Fight Island, it was Fight Hotel. He said it was like very prison-like. So how much different was it for you guys heading into this fight compared to July? Like, was it as Dustin described it, or was it a little bit different for you guys?
Yeah, the difference that we had this fight too was that we flew out there, fought on a Saturday, but didn't fly back till the next Thursday. So then it's like just sitting around waiting and waiting and waiting. And I was gone a total of 16 nights. I think 3 nights in Vegas and then 13 nights in Abu Dhabi. A few days on a plane and stuff like that. But by the end, we were calling it, we were in a 5-star prison. The W Hotel is remarkable. It's beautiful. Abu Dhabi is beautiful, but, we don't get to see any of it. And you're basically in a hotel. You can go outside, walk around the hotel, but all you are is you're just sitting there waiting the whole week. And it's great that it's a necessary evil, really. It's a place that allows these guys to go to work and check in and progress their career and make money. And it's good that the UFC is doing it. So you don't want to look like, look a gift horse in the mouth and complain about it. But yeah, fighting in Vegas is way easier. It's way easier on the fighter, with the meals and the travel. And then obviously it's way easier on the coaches. Some of these, I feel bad for some of these entry level guys, they're coming out here for, entry level contracts, and these coaches are out there for 2 weeks, leaving their families. They're probably losing a ton of money, at their home gyms and stuff like that. So it's tough, but at the end of the day, like, these guys are fighting and this is what them and the coaches sign up for. So you can't complain about it. It's just, if you had your choice, you're going to want to fight in Vegas and not there, especially, but the weather was way better this time. It was like 75, 80, wasn't as humid. So, you can complain about everything, or you can look at the glass half full. And at the end of the day, like, it wasn't 120 degrees with 85% humidity. So that was nice, but I think it would have been a lot more enjoyable this time if we could still go to the beach and ride the F1 cars and, stuff like that, ride bikes around. And, we weren't allowed to do any of that, but it is what it is.
So let's get to the fight day itself, because you're with Calvin the entire time. He's getting ready for this huge fight, and with the wins, his next fight would be for the belt unless something absolutely absurd happened. How would you sort of describe his mentality the day of the fight? Like, before he made the walk, before he got to the arena, you wake up, you see him. What's his mentality like?
Everything was the same. Calvin's chill. Good vibe. The only thing that was a little off was, he had some, hand soreness going into the fight. So we asked the cut man to, give us kind of a special wrap and kind of protect the hands a little bit more. And that ended up taking a little bit longer than we would have liked. So then by the time we finally got the wraps done, it was like, all right, you have 30 minutes to go. And so I felt like it was a little bit of a rush to warm up. I know Calvin felt that, and it was unfortunate. But other than that, everything was normal. It was a normal fight week. It was a normal, fight time. We checked in, I think, at 11:45 p.m. We probably fought around 3 a.m. So, we had plenty of time to like check in, get over there, all that. But then once we finally got in the locker room, that's when all of a sudden things just felt rushed. And there wasn't much that we could do about that. We told the guy we wanted to get taped, and he's like, I'll be back. And he came back when he did. And I think that's something that we'll probably try to plan for next time. Calvin fights, is to let the UFC know that, listen, like, we need a longer warm up. So can we if we have to, we'll take the earlier shuttle to the venue.
It was such a cool like vibe heading in, because there's fans, they were into it. Like, you watch the Wednesday card, like, you knew they were there, but not quite like they were on that Saturday. And the fight starts off, Holloway gets comfortable right away. Calvin was landing some leg kicks. Holloway was landing some of his own, spinning back kick. He wins the round probably. But for those who have watched Calvin fight over the years, he's not much of a fast starter. So I even tweeted something to the effect of, first round went the way I expected it to, but round 2 for Kattar is like round 1 for most other guys. So what is going on in your mind as this first round is playing out? Are you just like, this is typical Calvin, just trying to get his feet wet and things will get better?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because, obviously you have a plan going into a fight and it doesn't always work out. It's Max, man, I don't know if anybody could have beat Max that night, even if Calvin like came in as the best. Obviously that, Calvin will say it like this. He's like, Max fought the best fight he's ever fought. I don't feel like I fought well. But even if Calvin did fight the best fight that he felt like he could have fought, I mean, it would have been a tall task to beat Max on that specific night, So going in the second round, I was like, all right, we got to make some adjustments, and we tried to make some calls on the stool and then into the second round. And it was just, it wasn't our night. And once Max gets momentum, it's really hard to take it back. And you got to feel that. And then you got to feel like he was making, even Max, like he was winning, but he's still making good adjustments, and he kept just making more adjustments, and he's got a really good team behind him. And I'll say that was one of the first times that I've ever felt after a fight that the other team came in as prepared as we did. And that's not a knock on any of the other teams I've coached against. It's kind of, that's our MO as a team, is that I always feel like we go in more prepared. We're a small group. We have more time to prepare for individual fights. And that was like the first time I ever felt like we kind of faced another team like us, where it was a small team that was so focused on just one fighter. And they kind of knew everything Calvin was going to do before he did it. And they had an answer for everything he was going to do. And it was impressive seeing Max execute against stuff that Calvin was doing. And it was definitely something that I think is going to force our team to kind of take a step back and like, all right, we can fix some things. And, there's always things you can fix in a fighter, but when Calvin's doing as well as he's doing, it's like, if it's not broken, don't fix it type thing. And I think, we'll have some things to get back to the drawing board and work on now. And I think, it's you always say you win or you learn. It sounds cliche, but like, I'm going to learn a lot off this one. I know Calvin's going to learn a lot off this one. And even Rob, watching as a corner and a teammate, he's going to learn a lot in his career off of this one, and the other coaches, same thing. And, if we don't learn from it, shame on us. And that's what we have to do, is get back to the drawing board and make sure that, we did learn the lessons. And then the next fight, we come back, more prepared.
So the fourth round is the point of contention, because Max was very close to finishing the fight. Going back and looking at the numbers, it's just insane to even look at. 141 of 191 significant strikes landed. Herb Dean's the referee, one of the best in the business, very close to stopping it. He doesn't. Calvin was fighting back. And between some of the broadcast team, the social media folk, a lot of people wanted this fight stopped. Now, as we have seen in the past, some of that blame gets pointed to the referee, as it has to Herb Dean. Some of that blame goes to the corner. You chose to let the fight continue on. So for those who have been giving you a hard time, I know Herb Dean probably has his own takes on things as well. Can you sort of walk us through your mentality in the fourth round, even between the fourth and fifth rounds? Like, how close were you to stopping the fight? Did it get close to that place?
Yeah, no, it definitely did. Like, I'm sitting in the corner and I'm like, because every time Calvin was like, it was like really bad, it was like his back was to us, and we see Max and we see Herb. And there was a couple times I'm like, fuck, is he gonna stop it? And I was kind of hoping Herb stopped it, And then all of a sudden I'm like, all right, he's not gonna stop it. And I'm like, should we throw in the towel? And then I'm thinking, let's throw in the towel. And then all of a sudden Calvin would crack him, and then he'd get off the fence and he'd start landing shots. I'm like, damn it, It's like I'm looking for. The only way to describe it is I was looking for a reason to stop it, and every time I was about to, he would give us a reason not to, And it's a tough spot to be in, because you have to make a judgment call in real time based on the facts that you're presented. And and there was a couple of times I thought Herb was going to stop it, but then now he's looking Calvin in the eye. I'm behind Calvin, so it's like, all right, well, Herb has a better view than we do, and Calvin's now fighting back and landing some good shots. And then there was even one time in the fourth round where I looked at Jake, the Muay Thai coach. I'm like, dude, Max is getting tired. It was like crazy, because he was like beating us up, but then you saw in his eyes, he was like, oh, and then he tried to wrestle. I think that was the fourth round. And then he tried to take us down. I'm like, holy shit, Max is tired of beating us up. And then Calvin, landed a good shot again. And then the round ended. And I went to the stool on the fourth round, after the fourth round, thinking like, all right, we're going to stop the fight. And then I sat down. I was like, you good? And Calvin's like, yeah, I'm good. Like, what's up? And he was so clear in the way he spoke. His eyes were clear. He was coherent. He was like still in the fight. It was tough. It was, it would have been tough to stop it right there, where, you could tell he was still in it mentally. He didn't seem to be, wearing the damage that we were watching. It was tough, man. I mean, it's easy to sit back, when you're at home, or you have the luxury of not being in the seat that we're in, and saying, "Oh, I would have stopped it." It's like, yeah, it's easy to say that, but I don't think there's anyone that's spent more time on a mat with Calvin than I have. I don't think no one can argue that they care more. I know his whole team cares about him. His family cares about him. There's no one that can argue that they care more about Calvin than I do. I'm right there with those people. And, but at the end of the day, like, the only person I owe an explanation to is Calvin and his family. And, we've had those conversations and we're good. We're on to the next one. And, but I'm not ignorant enough to think that I know everything and that I don't make mistakes. And, I want to become better as a coach. And, I reached out to some people that I consider mentors or colleagues in the sport, other coaches that have been in that same seat that understand the role. And honestly, the feedback I got from a lot of those people is like, yeah, it sucked, but I would have done the same thing. And I can't say I regret my decision. It's tough. I have to, I don't ever want to see my fighters take damage like that, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't think Calvin still had a shot to win it in the 5th round. He hits hard. He was landing good shots. I think Max was just superhuman. And it's almost like it's unfortunate. It's not a position I ever want to be in again, but I think, it's an experience that it happened how it happened. And, I can understand, like, you got to take the good with the bad. Like, you go into this fight and everybody's like, oh, you get these awards for the team and the coach and all that stuff. And that's great. And you get all this publicity and you can take that, but you don't deserve that if you're not going to take the ridicule too. Like you sit in that stool as the head coach and you have to be able to take the punches too. If people, they're entitled to their opinion and they can say that, I made a wrong choice or I should have protected Calvin more. And that's their opinion and they're entitled to that. And I respect it. But the one thing I won't tolerate is anybody thinking that I don't have Calvin's well-being at the forefront of my mind that whole time. It was, I'm concerned about the kid. He's basically like a little brother to me. There's nothing more important to me than these guys' health. And maybe you don't agree with that based on how the fight went and whatever, but there's a reason that, in 2017, I brought these guys out to the PI to get baseline tests with concussion protocols. I wanted to know, because head trauma is something I think about, we got the baselines done. Like I had the UFC open the PI early on that Friday that we got back to Vegas so we could do another concussion protocol test and compare it to our baseline. We already have it scheduled to go out there at the end of February to check again and see how we're improving. And it is what it is. People are going to have their opinions. I'm going to take the praise with the ridicule, and you kind of have to expect both. But at the end of the day, like I said, the one thing I won't tolerate is people questioning my care for the fighter's well-being. And I know you know me pretty well, and there's a lot of other people that know me aren't questioning it. It's just people that probably don't even have a picture to go along with their profile on Instagram or Twitter. And those people have those opinions of like, oh, you don't care about your fighter. You're the worst coach ever. It's like, all right, cool. But at the end of the day, like, I guess this is just part of the course. It's something that we have to deal with. And I just hope it's something that we never have to deal with again. I never want to see my fighter get beat up like that and take damage. And hopefully, we all circle back as a team. And the next one, we're right back to Calvin Kattar, who's a top 5 guy and, thinking about trying to fight for another title shot down the road.
I'll have you know that on our preview show, I picked Kattar and I put a Patriots hat on, and it was like the draft. And after the fight was over, I get a DM on Instagram, and it's from someone probably the way you're describing, told me to go drink battery acid and get off the New England cattle because they ain't going nowhere. And I couldn't hit block fast. I'm like, what? I'm just making an opinion on a fight. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it is what it is. I am curious about one thing because, we've seen these situations before. And I think you and I, when we talked on the phone yesterday about it, I brought this up to you. Anthony Smith against Glover Teixeira, that was a huge thing of contention too. Like, the referee didn't stop the fight. Mark Montoya, his coaching staff, James Krause, they didn't stop the fight. And they took a beating for that. But Anthony Smith did some interviews after the fact, and he said, I will never let them stop the fight. I already told them that if they stop the fight, like, they're done. They'll never, ever corner me again. We've already had that discussion. So I'm curious, have you and Calvin or you and Rob or any of your teammates, have you guys ever had that conversation? Like, if we get into this position, do what you want to do or don't stop the fight. Like, have you had those discussions before?
No, I think it's more of like I know that Calvin and Rob trust me, and it's not something we have to necessarily talk about. And to be honest, like if those guys ever told me like, hey, I'll fire you if you stop a fight, if I felt like, all right, this guy's going to get seriously hurt right now, or he's taking too much, whatever, like, even if I knew that, I probably still would be willing to stop the fight and lose my job. It's tough, It's not a good space to be in. It's not a good spot to be in. I know everybody thinks that like, somehow we should be held to some superhuman standard of like, no, I'm not a doctor, like I've fought, there's no coaching seminars on like when the point is or when you should stop something or not stop something. It's a gut feeling. My gut in that situation told me that Calvin, he was still in the fight. He still had a chance to win. The doctor came over, looked at him. Herb was watching. He had a better view than I did. Like, and that's not blaming Herb, but he's got a tough job too. Like, but like factoring everything in when he's sitting on the stool in that fourth round, my gut said he's still in the fight. And I stick by that decision, like hate me for it or whatever. But me and Calvin have had those conversations and we're good with it. And we move on to the next one. And that's really all there is to it.
What's so interesting about the numbers to this fight, Max's numbers are out there for everybody to see and everyone's talking about them, but Calvin broke his own significant strike record in that fight too. And against most opponents on most nights, that's usually a win for Calvin Kattar. So I am wondering, I know how competitive Calvin is, and he's a New England guy and we're all competitive. We're playing Madden freaking 97 and Lewis were pissed about it. Calvin's stock, despite the result, actually rose in the eyes of the fans, media, his peers, et cetera. So, and people put him on this like all-time tough team. He's first team in my eyes, but has Calvin been able to find any silver linings in those 25 minutes because he is such a competitive guy? Or is he just like, this fight sucked, I don't even want to think about it anymore?
I think he just wants to move on to the next one. And I think that's what's going to make the time off so hard, is that, he just wants to learn from it and move on. We're going to make some changes. We're going to try to fill some holes. We're going to try to kind of evolve as a fighter, evolve as a team, I'll evolve as a coach and move on to the next one. But I think there's something to be said when you feel that level that Max fought. And I honestly don't think anyone else that's ever been there with Max can say that they felt that level. Cause I think kudos to Max and his team. I think that's the best he's ever looked. He's all time team tough too, man. He took some great shots from Calvin, who has been able to put out some of the best that have ever done it. So I think we felt the highest level that's ever been there at the 145 pound division, and Calvin was able to kind of survive it. And but now we don't want to just survive it. We felt it, and now we want to beat it. So I think this will it's just going to motivate him more. I don't think that he didn't lose any confidence in this fight. It's more frustration that he felt like he could have done better, and I think we all feel that way. And about our own performances, I feel like maybe we could have done a better camp. Maybe we could have, you think back, you think of all the different things you could have done, but we just got to put that into effect for the next camp.
Couple quick things on this, and then we'll move on to some other stuff. I'm sure you've seen it by now, but the UFC did release a video this week. Dana White was reacting to the fight, wanting the fight to be stopped. He even said something to the effect of like, this reminds me of fights where a competitor walks to the back and he dies. And it's just, this thing is blowing up and it's all over the place. And, within that video, he's telling his staff, like, he's not talking to anybody, get him out of here, get him straight to the hospital. Did you see this video? And if so, how did you react to it?
No, I don't watch any of that stuff. I saw like a headline for it or whatever, but Dana walked up to us after the fight. He's like, "You're going straight to the hospital." And Calvin's like, "You're so fucking tough. You're going straight to the hospital." And Calvin's like, "I don't want to be known for that," And you could tell Dana was like, "Oh, you're good." Like, and we told Dana, we're like, "Hey, like it's not as bad as it looked. He's still here. He was never. I've had fighters way worse. It's tough. It's I think Dana, and I think I read that he felt a lot better after talking to Calvin and seeing how he was still there. And like, I think And the one thing I got to realize is a lot of people didn't get to see that. They kind of saw the fight, they saw it end, they saw us get ushered off to the hospital. Like, Calvin he remembers the whole fight. You talk about Korean Zombie in that fight with Ortega. He doesn't remember the third, fourth, and fifth round. He was like, I don't even remember the fight, Calvin was still making adjustments. He was listening. He remembers the whole thing. It was just looked really bad. He took a lot of shots. The numbers don't help our cause at all. Like with people, talking about the number of significant shots he took. And it is what it is, man. It's a night we want to forget, but we have to learn from.
What was kind of like the post-fight medical stuff like, if you don't mind me asking? Because I know it's like you're not in Vegas anymore. You're not in the United States. It's a little different. You're in Abu Dhabi. Was there like concussion testing there as well? Like, what was that whole situation like?
They did like the standard thing that you always get back. The first place you go to when you leave that tunnel in the arena is you go to a tent where Taylor Price and Dr. Dave and those guys are there. And you go in there and they do the doctor looks you over. They put the light in your eye. They do all the stuff. They ask, they look at your hands, look at your feet. They go over your whole body. They write down what they think. And then they figure out you're going to the hospital. And so we went to, and that was it. It was no different than any other fight. And that was it. So they brought him and his brother got in the shuttle, and then I jumped in a little chase car behind them, and then we all went to the hospital.
Last thing, I promise. Like aside from wins and losses, has that fight, this whole experience, the aftermath, et cetera, personally, has it given you kind of a new perspective on things, learning lessons, kind of like anything else of that nature?
I don't know. I think anytime you lose, you're forced to like reevaluate the process and, what you can do better and to kind of self-reflect. And I definitely think there's looking at how that fight went and seeing it and then seeing the whole thing. It's definitely like thinking, okay, like now's our time to like, let's fix this. We've been able to get away with X, Y, or Z. That's not going to happen anymore. So, it's forced me to really think of like, all right, how can we get back in the lab with Calvin and bring him to that next level? And, like I don't have the answers to every question. No one does. So I'll lean on like, my instincts, my gut, and then also other coaches that I trust that I think will always, be mentors to me and see what they think. And then we'll try to come up with something to, bring, like Max said in the tweet, with Calvin Kattar 2.0, he's going to come out in the next fight and we got to figure out how to back into that.
So on to some other stuff. I want to go back to December 19th if I could, because Rob Font, after nearly a year away from the sport, recovering from knee surgery, ACL tear, puts on a performance of a lifetime against Marlon Moraes. And I remember the last time you were on and you said something that always stuck out to me. You look at your fighters, Rob specifically, like he's your first child in a way, getting to the UFC, and he's overcome a lot and comes through with a win like that. He's in the top 5 and he's in live for a massive fight now. I got Rob's take on that night in Vegas. What was that night like for you in Las Vegas, seeing Rob come through in a big spot like that?
It's like one part surreal, but one part like finally, it's like I've seen this kid since his first day doing MMA back in like 2009. And I sparred around with him, it's like seeing him come from that point and then his evolution as a fighter between then and now. And, knowing this whole time that he's a top 5 guy, he just hasn't got that blue chip win. We've fallen short a couple times. And I think he just kept trusting the process. He kept working hard. He kept just improving even through injuries. And, no one's as mentally tough as Rob is. So coming off a big injury like that, like I had said in the past, like I knew he'd be able to handle it. And it was just the way he, was able to kind of withstand the early storm, which we knew would come, and stay safe on the ground and then finally get up. And then, just touching him with a jab and kind of rocking him. It was great. I just felt so happy, like proud of him, happy. And it was just good to, see him get his moment.
Do you have a few more minutes, Tyson? I just looked at the clock and realized we've been talking for a while, but I do have a few more questions if you don't mind. Okay. When it comes to Rob, like I know he likes the TJ Dillashaw idea. Now that he's clear to return, the suspension is over. Also like the Jose Aldo idea. Cody Garbrandt's there. He seems to want to fight Aldo as well. Of course, we got the title fight coming up between Jan and Sterling. We got Frankie Edgar and Corey Sandhagen next weekend. a lot going on at 35 as always, man. Like what do you foresee happening? Like if you had to sort of take a guess on what you think happens, where do you think Rob goes from here?
I mean, I think, probably fight sometime this spring. And I think they right now, they're kind of we're in a holding pattern. We're the only guy in the top 10 not booked other than TJ. But, TJ sounds like maybe he has something in the works. So, and it's not us. So right now we just be on the outside looking in. There's a lot of fights coming. Edgar and Sandhagen fight next week. Maybe we get the winner of that. Maybe the title fight falls through and maybe we get that. Who knows? Like this. One part is we're ready to jump in if someone gets hurt, like let's say one of those fights, like the Aldo and Garbrandt fight, if that's happening in March, maybe we're the replacement for that. If someone gets hurt, it'd be logical. Or then if not, then maybe we get one of these winners of that fight and we fight them in like May. So who knows? Like we just got to be ready for everything. We got Rob really right now is our focus is just to get him in the gym and, just wrestle, just wrestle until then. And his striking's good. You don't need to spar a ton and, while we're not in camp. And right now the meat and potatoes, we're just going to be putting in that work, wrestling, get mentally tough and, working on our offense and defense and just be ready to go. Whatever name they call, I know we can beat them, and now it's just a matter of going out and executing on fight night.
Speaking of next weekend, Mike Rodriguez is back. He's fighting Danilo Marquez, his first fight since the Ed Herman debacle. And I know you guys tried to appeal that to no avail, I take it. But I know from talking to Mike, probably like 2 days after that fight, he was ready to move past this whole thing, like the very next day. How excited is he not just to like get in there and fight somebody, but just to get in there and put this Ed Herman fight officially behind him?
Yeah, I think it's been behind him since the next day. He kind of like, all right, cool, I got paid, I'm moving on. And then we'll handle the business side of it. And our whole point of the appealing it wasn't necessarily to win the appeal. It was to like put a foot down and say like, listen, like this type of crap is not acceptable. And then you saw the next week they had instant replay in use with like a light and all this stuff. So it worked,
right.
we put our foot down. We put up enough of a stink to get the rule changed and get them to finally admit that they can use replay. They just were kind of hiding behind the old rule saying they didn't have to. And, so I think there was there's a silver lining in it all is that, Mike still got paid. They changed the rule and now hopefully other people will be, not have to go through what he went through. But yeah, Mike's had a great attitude about the whole thing. And, he's excited about next week. I just talked to him on the phone before this and he's asking me what time his flight leaves and stuff. I'm like, it's in your email, but I'll screenshot it to you. And, yeah, he's just excited about, getting in there next week and testing himself against someone like Marquez.
I'll tell you the name that I'm getting the most about, and I'm sure you'll love hearing this. Everyone wants to know when Parker Porter's fighting again. They love him ever since the Josh Parisian fight. They're all about Parker Porter. When's he fighting again? He's become like this cult-like figure in the heavyweight division after that crazy 15-minute war he had with Josh. Any news on him? Is he something in the works?
Is it not public? Like he's had a fight for like a month now. He's fighting in April. I won't say who it is just because I never like to break news. It's like it's up to him or if it breaks somewhere else. But yeah, he's fighting April 17th. He's got a matchup that'll be fun for everybody. So yeah, he'll be back. He's in camp now. I love his team, man. He's got Kia and freaking Dan and William Knight's coach Ed Thornton, and then he trains with William, and those guys they're just a riot, dude. I'm on a group text with those guys. I love them. They're just so appreciative of everything. Like they're happy, like they're just enjoying this journey. It's cool seeing them. Like, man, that was one of my bucket list moments. Seeing Parker get a win against Josh in the UFC, and like, regardless of whatever happens the rest of his career, is like just me being able to be a part of his first win in the UFC, because I think a lot of people started to think he would never get to the UFC, and then he loses that first fight. And it's like, oh, maybe he's not there, but it's like and Josh is no joke. Josh beat Greg Rebello, who's like one of the best heavyweights to ever come out of New England. And yeah, I mean, it was awesome seeing him get that win. I'm excited about the next fight, and I just enjoy every interaction I have with Josh and his whole team. I keep saying Josh. It's Parker. I'm jet lagged about Parker. I swear I'm not stupid. I guess, yeah. So, but no, his team's awesome. I'm excited about like them getting back in there, and I always get it's just fun to deal with them the whole time. Especially Kia, the wrestling coach. He's a freaking riot.
April 17th is going to be a busy day for me, my man. It's my son's 8th birthday. Parker Porter's fighting on April 17th, and Ben Askren's fighting Jake Paul on April 17th. What a crazy day.
I saw a rumor online that might be like a Singapore card or something. Like, I hope not. They're saying the 17th or the 24th could end up being overseas because that's the Wei Lee fight or whatever. Maybe. I don't know. There's
I don't know.
That could be over in Asia somewhere. I'm hoping that Parker. I hope it's in Vegas.
I don't think it might be maybe the 24th. I don't think the 7th, because I think the headliner is locked in with Whitaker and Costa. So I don't think they're going to add anything else to that. So I think you might be okay. I don't know if it's going to be in Vegas. I don't know if it's going to be somewhere else, but I don't know. From everything I'm hearing, I don't think it's the 17th. So we'll see what happens with that. So maybe we'll get Calvin to fight in Vegas for his next one, for God's sake.
Yeah, all the kid wants to do is fight in Vegas, and we've had like 3 fights booked in Vegas, and they get moved to somewhere else. So yeah, he just wants that Vegas fight, whether there's fans or not. He just always wanted to fight in Vegas, and he's jealous because Rob's fought in Vegas like 7 times, and Calvin just can't get it. So maybe the next one.
There you go. Last thing, Tyson, before we put a bow on all this, and seriously, I can't thank you enough for the time. What's the message for the cartelomaniacs out there who continue to stand by you guys through all of this, through the ups and downs, and even for the naysayers in the community who may not be on the same page as you when it comes to everything that happened on January 16th? Anything else you maybe want to get off your chest that you weren't able to do already?
Oh man, this is what have you done for me lately sport. There's the fair weather fans, there's bandwagoners. It is what it is. Like, we have a bunch of originals that support everything we do and believe in us, and those are the people we care about. Everybody's gonna have their opinion. I would just say, MMA is a fickle sport. Look at everybody wrote Ortega off 2 years ago, and now look, he's fighting for a title. So don't sleep on us. My belief in Calvin and this team hasn't wavered at all after that fight. That's MMA. You're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some, and at this point, the cartel has shifted to Calvin recovering and Rob Font's next fight. So we're not really trying to dwell on the past, and we appreciate all the people who are supporting us and appreciate what we're doing, and the positive messages drastically outweigh anything negative that we've received. So you just focus on that, and just keep watching, because we're not done yet.
Does Tom Brady do it again?
I hope so, man. It's New England Buccaneers down there. I'm cheering for him. Like, I'm not one of those haters. I'm not like, oh, screw you, you left us. It's like, I appreciate everything you did. He gave me 6 Super Bowls, and a lot of fun playoff games and regular season games, and moments that I'll remember, like being able to watch Super Bowls with my dad and stuff like that. Like, those are memories that all of us New Englanders will have. And I think if your take is screw you now because you're not with me, that's sad. The guy did bring you 6 Super Bowls, and probably a lot of positive memories that you're going to have the rest of your life. And I feel like we owe him, we owe him to at least cheer for him, next week when he goes for that number 7.
I agree. Plus the Patriots treated him like dog crap the last couple of years anyway. So what else? I mean, he didn't have to do anything else. New challenges, you move on, and I have no problem with that. But Tyson, you're the man. I appreciate the candor, appreciate everything. Like I said at the beginning, I'm sure there's a million other things you'd rather be talking about, but hopefully this answers everyone's questions. And it was honestly, I just wanted to hear your side of things. I think it was only fair, but thanks again, man. Tyson, you're a legend. All the best to you, my friend.
Hey, buddy.